Hello, we're Bonnie and Greg Dixon and Jerry Smith from the Natural Health Movement, and we're here to do a kickoff of a brand new uh, series here called the Health Pioneer Theater. And so we're here to talk about what we're up to and our plans for this. And Jerry, do you want to say a few things about what we're up
Sure,
to?
sure. First of all, welcome to everybody. And we know some people are just filing in, so that's fine. We appreciate your interest. And first thing I want to say is we recommend that you subscribe. I'll tell you how to do that so that you get a reminder every week at 4 o'clock Pacific time on Tuesdays so that you can say, hey, I want to see that one. And maybe some of you might be interested in others, or you can share the link with others who enjoy knowing what the heritage of the natural product industry, the natural product lifestyle, really the natural health movement, which embraces all of that. And we have a website called naturalhealthmovement.org. What a coincidence. If you go there, you can get a really good idea of what we're about. We're about really documenting the many, many health pioneers, natural health pioneers that contributed information, products, leadership, and so forth that helped people to rekindle a natural approach to their health, whether it was through food, through medicine, through lifestyle. All of those contributed to have the opportunities and the options that we now have in the 21st century because they disappeared in the middle of the 20th century. And most people maybe not realize that. So if you do realize that, you know that we're standing on the shoulders of many other people that came before us. And so we're trying to make sure our goal is to interview those people while we still can, because many of them are obviously up there in years, and a pandemic doesn't help. So we are doing a lot of work there. Now you can help us do that. Besides enjoying them and watching them and sharing them, by contributing whatever you may want to in this good cause. And we have in our website, Natural Health movement.org. There at the top, there's that little Health Pioneer Theater logo. And if you click there, you can see more about how to subscribe so you get the weekly reminder, but also where you can donate. And we accept donations from anywhere from $28 a one-time donation to $28 billion. Well, that's probably not likely to happen, but you'll get an idea more of what we're doing. You can subscribe and you get a reminder because you're subscribing. It'll tell you, remind you that it's on so-and-so subject, person, or group are going to be discussed. And and you'll get that every week. Now, our object is not just to try to get subscriptions, but to really share these wonderful stories with you. And we will aim to have a live discussion with the actual people that are featured in these video documentaries. So please join us each week. And in the meantime, let's focus on our subject for today, which is going to be Dr. Jonathan Wright. Now, we have a group of videographers who have interviewed different people, and I had the pleasure of interviewing Dr. Jonathan Wright, who is one of my heroes. And Jonathan Wright is an MD, which is unusual, and he was totally a pioneer. In fact, he pioneered so early that there were definitely disadvantages and interruptions in what he was doing. But he still has a practice, as you see. This is his website, and he has lots of information. No, I will show you his website in a minute. But he has lots of information that you can share. You can get from his website as well, from his Tahoma clinic. So Jonathan Wright, who, if you go there, you get a little intro on his, and yes, this is his site. You find out information about how do you practice natural medicine as a medical doctor? Well, it's not to the exclusion of any particular thing, but whenever possible, Dr. Wright's colleagues and himself, they pursue the least toxic and least um, a
Invasive.
natural a
Yeah.
natural approach to correcting health. And of course, he's a big advocate for preventative health. And he was also a leader in bioidentical hormones, which you can find about there if you look on his resources. So when I say that he was a pioneer, I became acquainted with Dr. Wright reading the pages of Prevention magazine in the 60s, because Prevention magazine featured, not every month, but maybe every other month, they featured it was kind of a case history. It was interesting style, a case history. And he'd write it up as Joe Smith came into my office and said he had this. We talked about this. What about this? I tried this. I did this test, found out he had this, and this natural remedy was applied, and he had complete remission, et cetera, et cetera. So those articles really helped me appreciate that there were definite alternatives out there if you search for them. In the course of the video, you find that he has like 30, 40, 50,000 medical studies that he has. First he printed them, photocopied them from local academic libraries, and then has digital versions of them, and he's digitized them. He has them in safe havens. So it's all about science. It's really science that has been neglected, science that's not profitable enough to maybe share. That's really a lot to do with Dr. Wright. So in any case, Dr. Wright shares how he started in the field, how he had early and persistent opposition to just help people with things that didn't hurt them. And so when you watch this video, keep in mind that these are commonplace now, and in most states there's no opposition to them, and in most cases there's not opposition at a federal level. But to do what he did decades ago, he actually could have been arrested. In fact, he once was, which he'll tell us about. So why don't we go ahead and start the video, and at the end of that, we will have some additional comments. Now, as you go, if you're on YouTube already, and if you aren't, you won't be hearing me, please type in questions and we'll monitor those and try to answer them at the end of the program. You might say, did he really do that? Or is that really true? Or whatever you have, or things else that you might want to know. Perhaps we can get back to you. That's part of the benefits of subscribing to. So without any delay, let's go ahead and start that broadcast.
I do want to say one thing, Jerry, before we start.
Oh, good.
I want to give a shout out to one of our guests, Donna Stacy, who's on today. And she as well has been in our industry for many years. So maybe at the end of the video, we can have her jump in and share a little bit as well.
That would be a great. And we look forward to that as well, to participate. In fact, we can have various people participate. So if you want to also do that, and maybe you have a great story you can share with us, and with your permission, we'll keep it as something to tell other people as well. Thank you, Bonnie, for mentioning that.
Anyway, I was there for an internship and residency. Now, it was during the residency that I learned that there was much more than I had been taught in medical school. A woman came in who was having really bad leg cramps. They were hurting her a lot. And of course, one always reads the medical record beforehand to see what had been done so far. She'd made several visits about this, so I read it. And she had had every treatment, both patent medicines and then calcium and things like that, and nothing had worked. So I didn't know what I could do for her. I was new, but I asked, well, what's on your mind today? What can I do for you? she says, well, you saw the treatments that I've taken and I'm still having leg cramps. And I said, yes. She says, well, I want to know if vitamin E can kill me. And I said, no. One of the few things I learned about in medical school is that nobody ever died of vitamin E. And why do you ask? And she says, well, FDA says all those fat-soluble vitamins are going to kill us. And I want to make sure I can take it without hazard. Well, why would you take vitamin E? She pulls a book out of her purse. And she says right in here that sometimes vitamin E takes care of leg cramps, that nothing else will touch. And I said, well, I didn't know that. Can I look at that book for a moment? And she says, sure, gave me the book. And it was by a nutrition expert by the name of Adele Davis. It was not by a medical doctor or any kind of doctor at all. And of course, I thought, that's interesting. Show me where in the book it says that. So she did. And Adele Davis was very good at putting in footnotes to validate what she was claiming. So I asked her, you mind if I photocopy this page? I did. She says, no, not at all. She says, besides, now that I know vitamin E won't kill me, I'm going to go home and try it right away. Okay. Now, I'm not sure if she was really there because of herself or if she was sent to teach me something, because I never saw her again. As far as I'm aware, the next couple of years I was there, she didn't come back to the clinic. And yet, the medical assistant for the residents got a call to relay a message to me that she'd taken that vitamin E, and after a month, she wasn't having any more leg cramps, and they'd stayed away for the next 2 months. The call didn't come in for a couple, 3 months, as you can hear. So I pulled out that photocopied page and decided the next opportunity I'd go to the University of Washington Library and look that up. And oh my goodness, there was an article about vitamin E and leg cramps. Nobody had ever told me that. Very fortunately, I also got the name of the book. So I went out and bought me one, and it was full of footnotes to things that are in the medical journals but had never been taught in school, because it was all about vitamins and minerals and a few botanicals and things like that. And every one of them was footnoted so that I could go look them up, which was very nice of her. And that's what got me started thinking, oh, there really is another path here, and I can either use it concurrently, or depending on how far this path goes, hey, maybe we don't have to use nearly as many of those patented medicines. Now, patent medicines are what many people term for what are sometimes called pharmaceuticals. By the way, if you look up the origin of the word pharmaceutical, it has something to do with the word poison, so that's another story. Anyway, and patent medicines, in order to patent it, they cannot occur in nature. So they must be molecules that do not exist in nature. And my thought, after reading through Adele Davis's book, is, oh my goodness, what are we doing putting all these molecules into people that never before occurred on planet Earth? We shouldn't be doing that. As far as we know, humanity was either created or evolved, whichever we believe in, on this planet. And what we should be using are molecular substances that belong on the planet and therefore have been tolerated by humans, hopefully. That's where we should be. So I started doing more and more reading on it. And then after the residency, I was assigned to one of the several group health clinics. This one was in Renton, Washington. And a fellow came in who had a diabetic leg ulcer. You know, unfortunately, people who have diabetes get ulcers much more easily. And he had an ulcer on one of his ankles about the size of a 50% piece. Now, I had read his record too, and he had had, once again, nearly every medical procedure there is, including skin grafting, to try to cover up that ulcer. And no, none of it had worked. Now, since I had read Adele Davis's book and collected some of the articles, I'd put my nickels into the photocopier and photocopy the articles up at the University of Washington because I couldn't get them any other way. Anyway, since I'd read that, no less an outfit than the Cleveland Clinic, which we've all heard about. The Cleveland Clinic had made some publications about how zinc helps to heal things that won't heal, the mineral zinc. All right. So again, I read through his record. He'd had all these procedures. I said, why don't you go on down to your health food store and get yourself some zinc? And it's safe up to this amount. I had checked that. And he did. And oh my goodness, he came back. He didn't call back. He came back and showed me that his ulcer was gone. That was 6 months later. But even so, it was gone. Wow. Now I got called on the carpet for that. The chief of the clinic, who was a doctor, had been in practice for a while, called me into his office. I thought I knew what it was going to be about. So I took in a couple of those photocopied articles from the Cleveland Clinic, thought maybe it might impress him, and went in and he says, I want to know what you did for Mr. So-and-so. I said, well, his chart's on your desk. You could, sir, read about it. He says, that's not what I'm talking about. You use something that isn't approved here at Group Health. He was sounding like FDA, wasn't he? Mm-hmm. I said, but sir, the ulcer is cured. He said, if it isn't approved, you can't use it. Right then, I knew I was in the wrong spot. Mm-hmm.
So the rest of the story is really intriguing, especially the part when this actually was extremely significant for anybody who is in, whether you're in the natural product industry or consume natural products. He was targeted to make an example of, and he's a practitioner, he's a qualified practitioner, but the FDA told the local county sheriff that there was a clinic selling illegal drugs. So, in the subsequent chapters, they came fully armed. They had the clinic was full of patients. They were all lined up against the walls, and the county sheriff department did not understand what this was about. They thought they were going to find, and there is a clinic pharmacy next door. They were going to find some, cocaine or heroin or something like that. No, there was just nothing but vitamins and herbs and stuff and amino acids and whatnot. And they were very upset later on when they found out what this was about. Now, everybody was in the clinic. Every employee was charged, and it went to 2 or 3 grand juries, very expensive, and they were finally acquitted. But as a result of this, some thoughtful nearby Seattle and health enthusiasts faxed what was going on all around the country to manufacturers and to health food stores. And that's what started the opposition to this unfair interference that eventually led to the Congress passing the DSHEA Act, the Dietary Supplement Education. I think I'm forgetting the last part. The act that governs the proper use of supplements and protects citizens' rights to have access to them without shenanigans. So there's lots of other good stories you should definitely watch at your convenience.
So, Jerry, I was working in a health food store at that very time, and I remember hearing the dramatic situation that happened to Dr. Wright. His nurses literally were slammed up against walls, guns pointed at their heads, and they took all his computers, all his medical records, and they did not want to give them back to him. It was very dramatic. But as you said, what it led to was something called a blackout that was across the United States, where our health food store was key to that, Cheryl Hughes. And what we did is we completely blocked off with black sheer netting this and didn't sell vitamins for a day. And we just shared with everyone, if you value the opportunity to purchase vitamins, then you need to write your congressmen and your senators. And in one day, we had hundreds of people faxing, signing, and calling. We found out that there was bigger response in that one day. There were over 7,000 people contacting our congressman. And do you know that was more than any one day during the Vietnam War? And people stood up and said, look, we want to be able to purchase our vitamins as a nutritional supplement, not as a drug. Thank you very much. And as harsh as a thing that he went through, it helped move that whole movement forward. And yes, the DSHEA law is still on the books, the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act. And it was such a good thing because so many retailers had literally, not only Jonathan Wright, but in Las Vegas at one of the trade shows, I met retailers that were thrown in jail because they mentioned that a supplement would do this, this, or that. So the Dietary Supplement and Health and Education Act would say calcium, helps create strong bones. That is legal to say. So they created quite a few things, and people will often hear, oh, supplements just aren't regulated. Absolutely false. They are regulated, and within the industry itself, it's good manufacturing practices came out of that. So a lot of good things came out, because there always is someone that tries to create a supplement that's not a good thing, and they are watched. And if there's any complaints, but you don't hear people of dying of vitamin C, or as he said, problems with vitamin E, generally is a rule of thumb. But Jonathan Wright was just such a blessing to the industry itself for all that he did and all that he endured as well.
Very good point. And they were really, it wasn't surprising that they were really trying to shut him down, because, without being able to practice, you got no income. None of those people had income. And all of them had to have an individual lawyer, he shared with us. So there was a lot of contributions toward his defense fund.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Keep him afloat.
Yeah. So what I'd love to do is bring on Donna Stacy. Donna, would you be open to just saying hi to everyone? Jerry, I'd like to introduce you to Donna Stacy. And this is my dear friend, Jerry Smith. And of course, my sweetheart, Greg.
Hi, Donna. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Jerry. Nice to get introduced to you, Greg. Seen you on some calls before, but
yes.
Nice to meet you both. Jerry,
So
are you in Vancouver, Washington?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm in Portland.
And you're where? I'm sorry?
I'm in Portland, Oregon.
Ah.
Yeah, I can see Vancouver from my house.
Well, wave and I'll wave.
Oh my goodness. Well, Donna's been in the industry many years as well. And can you tell us a little bit about your experience, Donna, and, all that you've been doing?
Okay.
And your company, again, is...
Sure. The name of my company is Pura Vida of North America, LLC. My website is puravitaproducts.com. And I have my own brand of organic sprouted flaxseed powder that my husband and I started branding in 2004, right before he passed away. And I just continued it. So I have that. And then I carry a few other supplements on my website. But basically, I've been in natural foods for, years and years. I really tried very hard to cook from scratch when my kids were little, so I used natural, ingredients, tried to buy all natural ingredients and organic. Back then, we didn't have as many organic ingredients as we do now. But and then in early 90s, my husband and I started a business called Organic Foods, Inc. And we started at the Minnesota State Fair in a little booth where we made organic, vegan, vegetarian fast food sandwiches. And we used church kitchens to make the product and bring it over to the state fair and keep it hot in those hot pans, with the steam underneath.
Mm-hmm.
And what we did the first year we were there, it's a 12-day fair. And all the co-ops, all the food co-ops were at the fair that year. And they would come over and buy our sandwiches for lunch because they didn't have any other place to go to get vegan, vegetarian food there. We were the first booth there that was vegan and vegetarian. So we told them all that if they were interested in carrying our products, that we were going to start delivering around the beginning of September. So that's how we got our business started. And then we developed a commercial kitchen and then a larger commercial kitchen. And then we bought refrigerated trucks and we had packaging machines and almost 5,000 square feet of manufacturing space. And our products, we had a guaranteed sale basically. So we were in all the natural food stores in all the major grocery store chains in Minnesota. And we also had a truck in Chicago. So we used a juice company from Chicago that brought juice to Minneapolis, and they backhauled our refrigerated sandwiches to Chicago to our delivery driver who lived in Chicago and drove our truck. We had a truck stationed there. So, as an entrepreneur, you create all kinds of creative ways to get your business done. So, we had 13 different varieties. We sold hummus, soups, salads. We developed a line of cookies, organic cookies. I had a couple of vegan cookies. And it was a fun business, but a stressful business. And my husband passed away suddenly and unexpectedly on Christmas Eve day of 2004. And when I researched his medical records, which I was able to get after he passed away, the only thing I could come up with, because he had no health issues, he was 6'1", vegan, vegetarian, non-smoker, non-drinker. So, it was like he was going to outlive me. But unfortunately, he didn't, and I attribute it to stress. So I live a totally different lifestyle now. I try not to get myself into a stressful situation. And I continued with the flax, and it's worked out beautifully for me because I have a processor in Canada that processes it, packages it for me, ships it in case lots to a warehouse in New Holland, Pennsylvania, called Garden Spot Distributors. There's some friends of ours that we've met through. As Bonnie and I were talking, the Natural Products Expos, we did, I don't know how many, I can't even tell you how many Expo Wests and Expo Easts that we did. And we met John at one of the expos and have been just fast friends since then. And they distribute my case lots. And then I have an online store.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, Donna, you're one of the pioneers then, because back in the 90s, I was working at the health food store, the Whole Wheatery, and we were trying a vegan cooking bar where we did all, and I tell you, people would go, what, huh? And if I put tofu on the menu, they'd be going, what? And so we didn't put tofu in the ingredient. We didn't say anything, and they'd love it,
Yeah.
But
yeah. So we did a lot with tofu. We had we had a vegetarian sandwich. All of our sandwiches were made with rice and beans and to make a complete protein. So we had one called rice and veggies. And then we had some that were hot and spicy. And when I would do demos in the stores, because this was Minnesota, and there were so many people in Minnesota that were Norwegian, ancestry, and they don't like hot and spicy. So I always made a joke of it. These are hot, this is hottest, this is a little bit less, and blah, blah, blah. And then I would say, and then we have this Norwegian special.
That's great.
Oh,
Was that a code word for tasteless?
No spice.
Actually, it
no
was
spicy.
good. It had tofu in it, carrots, green onions, I think, probably a little bit of garlic. Can't remember all the. I have all the recipes and stuff, but it, and they like, they would buy that one. They liked that one. So,
Well, you are one of the pioneers as well, and we so appreciate you being on the show today and learning a little bit more. We're going to be doing our show every week, and we will be sharing some of these amazing interviews that Jerry and ourselves did, and then we'll be continuing to do more in future. And but the history, I think, is really important. Just what you did. You started off as a small business and you've grown it and you've served so many people. Whether, yeah.
One of the saddest things I have to say about the natural foods industry, we met an awful lot of people at the expos. And, like Cascadian Farms in Washington, I'm sure you guys are all familiar with them. And we met the owners and Bob's Red Mill. I mean, he used to, I made my red cake with gluten-free flour, and Bob came over to my booth one day and he says, I heard that you make this red cake with the gluten-free flour. Why don't you send me that recipe? We'll publish it. I'm like, are you kidding me? Have you make money off of my red cake recipe? I was kind to him and, we got along. They were interested in my flax, but they wanted to undercut it so much and sell it so cheaply on the market that it just wasn't going to pan off. But anyway, what I wanted to get at is we were so sad that so many of the original organic natural food companies were selling out to the larger conglomerates like, Pillsbury and, what's that other one in Minneapolis, the big one?
General Mills?
Yeah, right. General Mills. Yeah, we met with them several times too. But it was just so sad to see these companies sell their products that they'd worked so hard to develop to these larger companies. And then these larger companies were just, Frankenstein them. They were, they weren't continuing on. Excuse me. They weren't continuing on with the original recipes, and it was just so sad because they just they basically prostituted the original recipes, and it was never the same. So the ones that are still around, what is that one out of Southern California that's still
Amy's?
Yes, I admire that company so much.
Yep, they're a fantastic company.
Because they will not sell out. They want to continue on. And
it does leave room for the newbies, though. I've met, having worked in a health food store just again a couple years ago, I was amazed and on amazement. And those will be new stories that we can always bring up. And as we learn their story of people who just get creative and start new companies. So that is the what would you call it? The logistics for a lot of companies is they get bigger, and then they move on. But at the same time, there's always room for new, beautiful new companies, people with ideas just like you did when you started and growing those companies. So yes, some companies will move along, but some companies are like yours and you're going to hang in there, or Amy's, or which is it? The one over here in Vancouver, Jerry, with the cereals. Family-owned company.
Nature's Path.
Nature's Path. They're just hanging in there. They're a family right here in Vancouver, British Columbia. So, but we thank you for coming on today, Donna. And it was
inviting me.
This is our very first year at our inaugural show, and we will be continuing on. So please, everyone, spread the word because there's so much juicy backstories and
yes.
intrigue and creativity, and that we're going to be sharing on our Health Pioneer Theater.
Well, if there's any way that I could,
We're live, so just so you know.
oh, right. I was just trying to think. I'm going to have my website worked on here pretty soon, and I could update, because I want to update it. There's some things that need to be changed.
Tell your natural health friends, because we really would like eyes on this show, because history, Jerry, you're the best at this. The keeper of memories, we love the stories, because that's what makes us all human and connects us to each other and to the natural products industry. When we know the story, it makes it ever more special.
Exactly.
When I actually cook with Bragg's liquid aminos or with their cider vinegar, I sat right on the couch with her and had a conversation.
Oh, yeah.
And
she's an interesting character, isn't she?
She's a sweetheart. Yeah. And so we look forward to doing more stories. Jerry, did you have anything more that you'd like to say?
I just want to thank Donna for sharing her story. And we really, that was a lovely surprise. And, and there's many other people that we would like to invite on to do the same thing. Even if you're as brief as you were, those experiences are repeated over and over again. And it's thanks to your determination, your family's determination to do what you did, that inspired hundreds of others to do similarly. It's still inspiring them. And that's really that's the payoff of what we're doing, that a 20-something can say, I'm going to do that too.
Sure.
And they're doing it.
Yes.
Well, if I can put a link to this naturalhealthmovement.org, would that be the link?
That'd be good. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be fab.
Site. Yeah. I mean, I'm happy to do that. So,
well, thank you.
It won't happen, in the next couple of weeks, but in a month or so, maybe can get it on.
Great.
That.
We appreciate that. And we're just trying to get discovered. And we know that once we are discovered, people will continue to support it. And because there's so many people, these are real people out there who are helping other real people. And, I think as a result of what you did, I know that the co-op communities in Minneapolis are extremely assertive in what you were doing back then.
Oh, yeah. And I bet if you went into any of those or some of those, I'm thinking like the Wedge and Linden Hills, and the one in Eden Prairie. But anyway, a couple of those, if you mention my husband's name, they would remember us.
Great.
Because he was quite a force in the Minneapolis area.
Right.
And quite a character. And everybody just loved him. So.
Well, thank you again.
Well, thank you for staying the course.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, like I told you earlier, Bonnie, I don't know anything else to do. I mean, this is my passion. I love to help people be healthy, and I love it when my customers call me on the phone to place an order and I can have a conversation with them.
Cool.
That's the best.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much. And
thank you again.
All right.
This has been an interesting experience. I've never been on one of these.
There we go.
It's great fun.
Yeah. Appreciate it. All right. You guys all have a wonderful rest of your day.
All right. Thank you, Donna, so much.
Sure. You're welcome. I'll talk to you again soon, Bonnie.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So,
yes. Well, there's an inaugural episode, and we hope to have other guests on to talk about other pioneers that maybe we haven't had a chance to interview, or maybe they're a little shy and they don't want to have too much patting on the back or focusing. We'll always try to include something different, and we hope that you will subscribe as shown below, and considering sharing that with others. By sharing that with others, that's the best way for our work to continue. So thank you again, and we hope to see you next time.
All right. See you soon.